The Second Me. It started one night when Leah came home late from work. Her apartment door was unlocked. She was sure she'd locked it that morning, but exhaustion muffled her alarm. She walked inside, flipped the lights on. Everything seemed normal at first. The next morning, her toothbrush was wet. She hadn't brushed her teeth yet. Maybe she forgot. Maybe she had and didn't remember. She told herself she was tired, stressed. It was easy to explain things away. Until it kept happening. Lights she never turned on, drawers she never opened, a half-eaten apple on the counter when she hated apples, a voicemail left on her phone in her own voice, "You're not supposed to be here." That night, she installed a camera. She didn't want to look at the footage, but curiosity clawed at her. At 3:17 a.m., she watched herself crawl out from under her own bed, pale, wide-eyed, hair matted, moving slowly, silently, like a shadow learning to walk. The other Leah stared at the sleeping one, then walked to the kitchen, ate an apple, brushed her teeth, then returned, crawling back under the bed. She never slept in that apartment again. But sometimes, when she checks her phone at night, she sees strange selfies taken from her bed while she's sleeping. And in every photo, she's in the background, smiling. The Haunting of the Sallie House. The Pickman family, Tony, his wife Deborah, and their newborn son, moved into a modest home in Atchison, Kansas, looking forward to a quiet life. But within days of moving in, things began to unravel in terrifying ways. They noticed lights flickering, appliances turning on and off by themselves, and cold spots that moved around the home. Harmless at first, but it quickly escalated. Tony began waking up with deep scratches on his body. 3 long, claw-like marks, often on his back or chest. One night he saw a young girl, no more than 6 or 7, standing at the end of the hall. She was dressed in an old-fashioned gown and just stared at him. He assumed it was a dream until he saw her again and again. They called her Sally, based on a psychic's vision who claimed the girl had died in the house during a failed appendectomy in the 1800s. But the behavior of the entity grew more violent, especially toward Tony. He would feel burning sensations, hear growling in his ear, and once he watched in horror as a teddy bear floated in the air and launched itself across the nursery. Paranormal investigators were brought in. One described the house as a gateway, not just haunted by a little girl, but by something darker pretending to be her. This matched Tony's increasingly sinister experiences. He began having violent mood swings, fits of rage, and disturbing dreams. Eventually, the Pickmans fled the house. Today, the Sallie House is a popular stop for ghost hunters. Many report similar activity: physical attacks, shadow figures, unexplained voices, and electrical malfunctions. The truly chilling part: visitors continue to leave the house with unexplained scratches, bruises, and psychological disturbances. The house still stands, and some say Sally still watches from the nursery. The Reflection. Mira had just moved into an old Victorian house she inherited from a great aunt she never met. It was creaky, drafty, and filled with old furniture draped in white sheets. In the attic, behind a trunk of yellowed lace and letters, she found an antique mirror. Not ornate, just simple, heavy, and old. It hadn't even gathered dust, which struck her as odd. She brought it down to her room, set it against the far wall, and forgot about it. At first, it was just little things. She'd glance at the mirror while passing and see herself hesitate, just a split second too long. Her reflection always felt just slightly behind her real movements, like it had to think about what to do next. One night, as she was brushing her teeth, she looked up and the reflection didn't. She froze.
Her reflection stared back, eyes locked, toothbrush idle at its mouth, unmoving. She slowly raised her hand. It didn't follow. Instead, the reflection smiled. Mira backed away, heart hammering. She turned to run, but tripped, crashing to the floor. From her position, she could still see the mirror. The reflection wasn't mimicking her. It was walking toward the edge of the glass. Closer, closer, and then it was gone. The mirror now only reflected the empty room. That was last night. This morning, Mira is gone. But when you walk past her room, if you glance at the mirror, she's still there, smiling.
The voice behind the door. It started with a knock. Jamie lived alone in a small apartment on the 3rd floor of an old building. The kind with warped floors, hissing radiators, and thin walls. Most nights were quiet, until one evening, just past midnight, he heard a soft knock on his front door. Knock, knock, knock. He froze. No one should be visiting him that late. He tiptoed to the peephole. No one was there. Just the hallway. Silent. Empty. He turned the deadbolt tighter and backed away. Then came the voice, from the other side of the door, barely more than a whisper. "Let me in. I know you're in there." Jamie didn't move. Didn't breathe. Another knock. "Please, I'm so cold." Still, he didn't respond. Eventually, after what felt like hours, silence returned. No more knocking, no more whispering. The next night, it happened again, and again, every night. Always at the same time, 12:08 a.m. The same knock. The same soft voice begging to be let in. Jamie set up his phone to record the door one night. The next morning he watched the video. There was no knocking, no voice, just him, cowering near the door, whispering back, "You can't come in. Not again." But he had no memory of saying that. And then he froze. The video showed something else. At the very end of the recording, as he walks away from the door, his shadow stays behind, standing there, still, facing the door, smiling. Room 313. Jake had been on the road for hours when the storm hit. Torrential rain and zero visibility forced him to pull off at a small roadside motel. It wasn't listed on his GPS, and the neon sign buzzed faintly, "Rest Easy Inn." He was too tired to care. The front desk clerk, a pale woman with a crooked smile, barely looked at him as he signed the register. "Only one room left," she said. 313. Jake hesitated. He hated the number, but exhaustion won. He took the key. The room was cold, musty. Something about it felt off. The wallpaper peeled in long strips, and the bed creaked with every movement. Still, Jake collapsed into it, fully clothed, letting the static-filled TV flicker in the background. He was nearly asleep when he heard it. A knock. 3 soft knocks at the door. He glanced at the clock. 3:13 a.m. Fitting, he thought bitterly. Probably the front desk checking something. He pulled on his jeans and opened the door. No one was there. The hallway was empty, silent. Jake shut the door and turned around. Someone was sitting in the chair across from the bed. A man, gray suit, pale, wet skin, unblinking eyes. He didn't speak, just stared. Jake stumbled back toward the door, heart racing, but the man simply vanished, like static wiped from a screen. Shaken, Jake sat up the rest of the night with the lights on. When morning came, he rushed to the front desk. "There was someone in my room," he said. The clerk looked up slowly. "Room 313?" He nodded. She pursed her lips and retrieved a faded guest book. "You're the fourth person to report that. Since last year." Jake stared. "Last year?" She didn't look at him. "A man died in that room. Heart failure. They found him in the chair. Took hours to notice." Jake glanced at the TV screen in the lobby. The morning news played, and there he was, the man from the chair, the gray suit. His photo beneath the headline, "Local man declared missing. Last seen checking into motel on Route 6. Jake pointed at the screen, trembling. "That's him." The clerk frowned. "That can't be." She turned the volume up. "Confirmed remains found earlier this week in the wall of room 313. Jake's legs went weak. The room wasn't just haunted. It had been hiding something.